has had enough time to rest, and we're now ready to put together a focaccia di Recco. For the focaccia di Recco, you will use this dough. Also, there are two kinds of cheese that go inside the focaccia di Recco as per the traditional recipe. I can guarantee, pretty much guarantee to you, you're never gonna be able to find them. They're, very difficult cheeses to find outside of Italy. Oh, this cheese here is a particular cheese that only gets made here in the region of Liguria, which is called Prescinsoa. This is pretty much like a slightly acidic ricotta. Yeah. The other one is our Stracchino. This is another fresh cheese, and it's just super hard to find it outside of Italy. I don't know, I just think it's not very, appreciated. But you know what? That's not a problem. You can have some alternatives. So what I would suggest for you to do is to buy some ricotta cheese and add a little squeeze of lemon to it. That will make it acidic, and it'll be, similar enough to Prescinsoa. Stracchino, a little bit more difficult. What I would do probably is to get a nice bowl of fresh mozzarella, mix in some cream cheese and blitz it together. The consistency will be sort of similar. The taste will be different, but this is recipes from Italy for you to do all over the world, There's not much you can do. First thing we're gonna do is to oil up our tray. Make sure you have enough oil inside of it. And the reason why we're doing this first is that it will be ready for us to put the first sheet of our pasta matta to layer our focaccia di Recco. So once that's done, we'll put it back aside and get ready on our dough. Okay, so with the recipe I used before, I've got this much pasta matta out. I'm probably gonna really only need half of it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut it in half and then in half again. When you work this pasta matta, when you work this dough, you really wanna be careful not to work it too much. Don't fold it back on itself. If you happen to fold it back on itself, just let it rest for another 20 minutes. As I said to you before, pasta matta literally translates into crazy pasta. And I think they named it like that because many times bread makers or people who make dough will sort of give a name to the emotion that the dough is feeling at a given time. In order to get a dough to become really elastic and super manageable, the dough somehow has to be relaxed, so not touched. When you go and fold the dough on itself, it tenses up. Chemically speaking, it just tenses up. So if I went to fold a piece of this dough now and try to stretch it, it would, stretch back to itself, and it'd be really, really difficult to work. Whereas if I leave it like this, it's super, super relaxed, then I go and stretch it really quickly and it'll become super elastic, super big, like I said before, like phyllo pastry. And I reckon that's the reason why it's called crazy dough, So, first thing we're gonna do is separate our pieces. As you can see, I'm working this really, really gently, yeah? I don't wanna stress this dough because it's really crazy. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm gonna start with this piece over here. So what I'm gonna do is I've floured it already. I'm gonna turn it on the other side, flour it a touch more. And then with my rolling pin, I'm just gonna start spreading it out. Don't go too much because we're gonna do most of the work with our hands, yeah? So now turn it on the other side. And again, same thing. Now try and keep it as square as you possibly can. I'm gonna get it to be really, really thin. As you can see here, spreading it out like so. Try and keep it as square as possible. So now the finishing touch to stretch it will be from its own weight. This is not gonna work first time for you, I'm 100% sure, but it doesn't matter, You've seen the recipe of this. This is flour, water, bit of extra virgin olive oil, no yeast. It's just, super, super cheap. So if you can, just make it in bulk, make a big, big dough and just keep trying it and trying it and trying it, yeah? You can then, you're not gonna waste it. If it opens up, you're not gonna waste it. You just fold it back on itself, let it rest for a further 20 minutes, and then repeat the process again. Okay, so what we're gonna do here now is we're gonna stretch it with its own weight. As you can see, I've got my hands right underneath it, and just by doing so, you should be able to see that these parts are sort of falling down. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna allow the weight of the dough and gravity to do some of the work, but also with my hands, I'm gonna pull them apart a little bit, yeah? So I'm just doing this, yeah? And I'm really stretching it out to be super thin. Just really gently, yeah? Very delicate. Now you don't want it to be too thin because it will break, but once you get to sort of this stage, you can see my hands going through, yeah? You just go and place it on top of your tray, get it to go all around, and fantastic. This is super good, yeah? First layer done, absolutely brilliant. If it's a little bit bigger than the tray, that's not a problem. I'll show you later on how we're gonna be able to work this. Now that we have our first layer of pasta matta onto our tray, we're gonna go and fill it with our cheese, yeah? So don't be too precise. Again, this is, a pretty rustic recipe, but just dot bits of cheese all around your dough. What I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna try and keep at least this Stracchino cheese quite even. So I've got 9 pieces here, and I'm gonna go and finish it off with 12. The balls are not exactly the same, but at least like this, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get pretty much the same amount of Stracchino on each slice of my focaccia di Recco. Next thing will be our Prescinsoa cheese. I'm gonna do this with my hands because I want this to be like a bread maker would do, yeah? And just sort of, spread around like this. Doesn't matter, don't be too precise. You can see this is almost like ricotta, yeah? So it's really liquidy, yeah? Just sort of, dot around like so. Right, so now that we have our cheese inside our focaccia di Recco, we're gonna go and put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, little touch of salt, and also pinch of flour, yeah? This is gonna dry out the cheese a little bit. This is very liquidy cheese. Once you go and cook it, it's really gonna release its water and it'll be, super, super liquidy. So a little touch of flour is gonna help it just sort of stay more compact. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this aside, stretch out another layer of pasta matta, and then I'm gonna cover it and put it on top, and I'll show you later on what we're gonna do to finish it off. I finished off stretching my second piece of pasta matta, and now I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do, yeah? So with your hands again, just lay it nicely on top of your tray and make sure covers evenly all the sides. Now you're probably gonna think like, oh, he's not gonna put that in the oven like that. No, I'm not. And I'm gonna show you how to make this really nice and precise. First thing, with your fingers, just sort of press down a bit on the sides of the tray. Fingers and palms, use whatever you prefer, whatever's easiest for you, yeah? Now you can see more clearly now that the sides just sort of show up. Once you get to this stage, you wanna get your rolling pin again and just on top, go like this. So as I'm rolling on the tray, you can see that the dough is just sort of separating and just sort of sliding down onto my baking tray, yeah? And you want this to happen. So you can either roll it, give it a first roll, and then just sort of finish it off like this. And then same thing on the other sides. And again, be firm but gentle. You really don't want to rip this, yeah? Okay, so same again here like this. And now all of this will just quite simply come off. Yeah, so you're ready to get it back, fold it back onto itself like so, and let this rest for another 20 minutes if you want to make another one. Now, next thing, with the help of a little fork, just pierce it. Yeah, pierce it here and there. Make sure you do it, you know, on all the sides of the whole focaccia, yeah? The reason why I pierce this is because imagine this to be pretty much like a dough sachet full of cheese. And we're gonna cook it in the oven at the temperature of 250 degrees Celsius. So that's really high heat. What is gonna happen is that air will blow inside of it, yeah? And it will really start to open up. So if you pierce it, some of the air will come out of the small holes that you made with the fork, and the whole thing will not just explode in the oven. So once you've done that, we're gonna go again, drizzle some extra virgin olive oil. Don't be too shy, don't be too generous, just a good amount, yeah? Then, a little bit of flour, you know, from the top, just sort of, you know, here and there. And some flake sea salt, which is gonna help it crunch up. So this is all you wanna do. Now we're ready to go in the oven. Okay, so our focaccia di Recco is ready to go in the oven. It's set at 250 degrees. We're gonna cook it for about 5 to 7 minutes. Right inside and keep it shut. We're gonna go back and check it in 5 minute time. Right, so our focaccia di Recco is pretty much ready. Now, as you can see, it's super airy in the middle. Now, we kind of wanna allow it to sort of rest a little bit, yeah? We wanna get some of that air outside of it, because if not, it's just gonna be, you know, hard to eat, hard to reach. So we'll just squash it down a little bit. As you can see, it's beautiful and crunchy. And then now, just for presentation, we'll drizzle a bit of olive oil on the top. And now, let's go and do a nice little square cut. Yeah, and as you can see, it's lovely and cheesy in the middle, and just beautiful and crispy on the outside. So this is our focaccia di Recco from Italy.